What is up, ladies and gentlemen? 42. Talking Nutrition 42. How are you, Christine?
I'm good. I'm really busy.
Same. I feel like every week we're just like, oh, it's just busy.
I feel like I'm the most busy I've ever been right now.
Yeah. This year has been nuts.
I was just going to say that. It's like this year, starting in December, I just got real bit. There's never I have to force myself to take a minute, because there's never a minute where I don't have something I could work on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's always something to be working on. So it's a good thing though.
It is good. It is good. And that's kind of like what we want. We have our own businesses, so it should be like that. But don't you think that's one of the harder things though? Because there's always something nagging in the back of your head, oh, this has to be done. This needs to get done.
Well, yeah. Me and Eric, when we went to that cabin, he looked at me and he's like, I can never relax. I'm like, same. And I was like, I know. I'm like, literally, we're in this cabin and we're physically relaxing, but mentally we are not. Our brains are both just going what we need to do with work. I'm thinking about clients. I'm thinking about what I need. It's I don't know, unless I drink, I cannot settle my mind, and I'm not going to do that. So maybe I'll get some weed gummies or something. But then I'm afraid of having too much. Do the gummies give you munchies though?
So I did smoke weed when I was a kid. I'm from Holland, so it's always been it's not officially legal, but it's tolerated or whatever they call it. But I didn't mess around it that much, with it that much, because I just drank a lot back then,
Yeah.
So it's not a great combo, but I think it really just depends what you're getting. But I mean, I've seen a lot of good stuff even on CBD and shit. Maybe that's a good one.
Yeah, I think I might try gummies or something. I tried them a while back, a few years back, but I don't think I took enough, because nothing happened to me. I didn't do anything, because I was so afraid of going overboard, because I've seen people go overboard with it. It's scary. But I used to smoke weed as well. I was a bad kid. I did bad. Yeah. It's not a part of most people know about me, to be honest, but now my podcast knows some
here we go.
But I mean, it's not that smoking weed's bad. That's not what I'm talking about. But, in those days, I used to smoke a lot of weed, and oh my gosh, I would get the munchies so bad. And it's I wanted different textures and different tastes, and all these different foods. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So I'm if I do that, I'm going to be eating pickles and chocolate and chips. And
that's a fucking combination too. Pickles and chocolate. Wow. Love that. So, no, I think, I don't know. For me, it was just kind of I drank a lot, and it's just a shitty combination, the couple times I really did smoke a lot of weed. I just I would just get really sweaty first, and then go into zombie mode.
Yeah, you get this spin anytime I've drank and smoked weed, I start spinning like crazy.
100%. That's what happened.
Oh, it's terrible.
And then I would sit down, because it was always at a show or something, a local show. And then I would just sit down on a bar stool or something, just try to keep my eyes closed, And this is when I was 14, 15, but I'm just sitting there and just feel completely shit, and just have to go out and puke, and then I was just done for the day,
You're just zombie. You're almost green. We actually in Canada, anytime one of our friends would puke from drinking too much, we'd call that a whitey. Because they would just go so white. Yeah. And then if it happened with weed, we'd call them greening out, because they would literally just turn green.
Shit. Jesus.
Yeah.
We
anyways.
I mean, we did have a lot of nights like that where a lot of us, so we would drink a lot, and a lot of us would actually like puke like almost on a weekly basis. Sometimes we took it too far. Sometimes, we just dumb shit,
Yeah.
But we'll talk about my previous habits in a little bit, which, by the way, it's not even that bad. I was just doing like kid shit, like you start drinking, you mess around, and then you burn,
Right.
But like, it's nothing too crazy there, but let's actually talk about that stuff. So today I wanted to share a little bit about my story, kind of like the moment where for me it was kind of like, okay, that's it, shit needs to change, and just kind of like over the years, kind of the stuff that I tried, which most people are still struggling with, a little bit about the fitness space in general, online in particular, the information, the misinformation, and we'll just see where this conversation leads us, and then ultimately coaching, of course.
Not really, other than I just posted it today. I'm inviting my followers to the next guest speaker that I'm having, which is next week, April Wednesday at 6 p.m. EST. You can see the little infographic on my Instagram, and then you can just pay, and I'll send you the link via email, and then I'll add you to the calendar invite. But really looking forward to this one. Like, so Ray Gorman, we had him on here, right? And he was, he's the guy who brought me back to health after, going through all my surgeries and all that. And he's just such a wealth of knowledge, but we're going to be really talking about, talking to the Gen Pop more of like, how like stress and sleep can impact performance, and how to adjust training, like when you're super stressed, and going over like training as a stress reliever, things like that. The importance of rest. I think this is just really important for, a lot of people to hear. So thought I would bring it to the public. I'm also, Casey Joe is coming on as a guest speaker as well, the end of May, and she's going to be talking on the science of self-control. So I'm going to offer that to the public as well.
That's super cool. Mm-hmm. Awesome. We'll link that below as well. If you want to check out the episode with Ray, just looked it up. That was episode 28. Definitely want to check that one out too.
Yeah.
It was one of my favorite conversations so far. No, that's cool.
Yes, so good. Yeah.
That's really cool. On my end, the group has been going really well. It's really cool to see people kind of create wins. We're now 3 weeks into that group program, and now you're really starting to see kind of like change. People are not losing a whole lot of weight, but they're losing centimeters and inches, which is a big realization for people now. So like, oh shit, actually, I'm eating way more than I used to, which for a lot of women has been quite tough to get into, right? Especially mentally. But the energy is way better. They're losing inches. And now people are actually starting to lose weight as well, now that we, adjust stuff. And it's really cool. It's really cool to see people kind of get excited and see those little changes there, that go beyond just a skill. So that being said, I am opening up 10 more spots for our beta testing cohort. So that's going to be May 1st. So that's a couple days after this episode launches, really. I'm stoked. It's going to be basically a week after this episode launches. So if you want to be one of those 10 people, we'd love to have you. Obviously, it's still kind of like in the beta testing phase, but it's exciting. It's really cool. So very much enjoying that. So we'll link that below as well.
So is it free, or is there a price, or what?
No, so that's a group coaching program so that's not free.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah. So that's new. I did just start that with 12 people in April now. So it's our first group coaching option, basically, which also for me is kind of like something new to learn, which is really fun, So we're still doing like individual macros, but it's like a bi-weekly check-in. So it's a little bit more of like, hey, general help, questions, those kind of things. It's all in a group setting. We do weekly office hours. Going to be adding a training program in May as well. So we're kind of like building this out now, which has been really cool. First group is super cool. People are very involved, and it's just exciting. I like new shit. You know what I mean? Like
totally.
I like building stuff.
That's something I've thought about doing too, but I haven't done it. But so like, where are you housing those people to talk? Like, is it a Facebook group? Is it WhatsApp?
Yeah. So it is a Facebook group. The course, so I have a course portal on my website now, which we could potentially build almost like a social media platform on top of that, which is like a basically plugin I could be adding eventually. So that is potentially going to happen in the future, but for now it's a Facebook group. It's a little bit easier. People are on Facebook already. It's just easy to share stuff, like a daily post. We have our office hours there, Q&As. It's just nice to share stuff there, Yep. So it's been fun. It's cool.
Sweet, love it.
Just wanted to make nutrition coaching like more available to people.
Totally.
Not everyone is ready for one-on-one or can afford it or combination. So that's going to be the second option, basically.
Awesome.
Now, let's get into the episode. So where to start? I think I want to start in 2012, where I kind of had that realization moment. So we just kind of talked a little bit already about like the drinking stuff when I was a kid. And this was really, to be honest with you, the drinking, that was like when I was like 14 until maybe 18, the most, like 18-ish was the most. And then it already kind of just gradually went less and less. So the drinking was only back then, I quit drinking in 2012 already. So this is before that moment. Just because it was just like a gradual thing. I just got over it. So that was my first kind of big decision that year, No, sorry, second. 2 weeks before that, I quit smoking. So that was the first one. Used to smoke a pack a day. Not great for your health, obviously. And I went to this festival, and I swear, like, I must have been smoking all day because I smoked 2 big packs of cigarettes in one day. That's like 60 cigarettes or something.
Oh.
And I remember, like, the next morning I woke up and it was like, breathing like that.
Yeah.
It was like, I don't know what the right word is for it, but it was very nasty. Brown shit coming out of my throat. And I was like, that morning I felt so shitty, so sick. I was like, I got to quit. So I had one more cigarette that evening and that was it. So that was kind of like the first big step for me, Then I quit drinking 2 weeks later. And I was like, you know what? I might as well just quit altogether and see how this goes. So those were kind of like the first steps. But okay, let's fast forward a little to that moment, right? So we were on tour in Brazil with the band I just started playing with. And we're just about to get ready to go on stage. And there's kind of like this hall going from the backstage to the stage. There's a big mirror, and I just put my guitar around my neck. And I just kind of turned around, just waiting. And I just looked in the mirror. I was like, I got to do something about this, I was like 110 kilos, which is like 230 in pounds, I think, 230. It did not work out. So it was not, I'm not going to say not any, but there was very little muscle mass.
Okay.
So it was a little chunky, But no, like my energy sucked. I really felt like I looked like shit, I felt like shit. I would be just out of breath in no time. And I was just not in a great place, you know what I mean?
So you
didn't
came from nothing, like no background on nutrition, not in like a lot of sports, like nothing like that. No,
I didn't.
But that makes this better. That makes this story better because I think it is easier. Like me, for example, right from a young child, I was in gymnastics, right? And then I was in soccer and I was in taekwondo, and like my family, I mean, kind of in terms of nutrition, like they did say some stuff to me as I grew up. So like it was kind of in my ear, but coming from nothing like that and then seeing where you are now, like you did that yourself, right? So that's really cool.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, that does also show, that's actually a good point. It does show like, hey, guys, like whoever's listening who's maybe struggling, you can do the shit, right? Like if I can, you can most definitely lose weight too, like actually, you know. So what it was, right? So back then, like I said, I didn't really do sports. So I did judo when I was a kid, when I was really young, and I did field hockey for a little while, which is kind of like big in Holland, you know. It just wasn't really my thing. And then I did play baseball actually for a little while, and that I loved. I've always been like a fast runner. I just couldn't go long. You know what I mean? But I was actually pretty fast, and I like that. Thing is, though, I've always been just like focused on music.
Got
When
it.
I was a kid, I played the saxophone. Then I got into playing guitar, and it was always just music focused. So that was kind of my thing, you know. So we're in Brazil, going back to that moment, and I was just in a shitty shape. You know, I just didn't feel good. I already had like zero confidence, but like the body composition didn't help either, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So altogether, it was just kind of like, no, it's just done, you know. So we flew home. Very next day, I just signed up to the gym. You know, grabbed my bike, went to the gym. And remember, because I got that first workout program, you know, like the trainer there, they kind of showed me around. They had like this old school, like a huge, you know, printer. And it printed out my workout program and had like the images like showing how to do it, you know, with the checklist. And that was my first workout program, you know, which is really cool to think about now. Now everyone's just like on their fucking phone all day,
yeah.
You know?
Oh man, you go to the gym and everyone's just on their phone.
It's just like lifting and then like
I used to have like the paper. I'd have a paper and I'd like write it down. Yeah,
it's great actually.
it is great.
But so yeah, I like that. Like I've been way more into like that kind of stuff, like writing shit down and journaling and all that. Like I've been trying to keep my phone off as much as possible. But anyway, speaking of being distracted, no, like. So I started working out and just trying to figure it out by myself, you know? I did start running as well. I remember I did my first run. It was 5 minutes. I was dead.
Oh, yeah.
I remember I was using I think I still have it in my log, the Nike running app. It was rough. It was rough, you know?
It always is though at the beginning. That's it. You got to push through that part.
100%. And you know what it was though? I don't know what that was, that switch in my head, you know, but I fucking did it though. Like I went for that 5-minute run and it completely sucked. But the next time, whatever that was, the next day or the day after, it was like 10 minutes or something. You know what I mean? So I just built it up, and I really did like that app, by the way. I fucked up my knee running, which is why I don't run. Because that has happened multiple times. Like I got really into running and then I messed up my knee. Happened a couple times, you know? But I really like that. It kind of gave me, you know, something to follow. And that's why also even now I tell people like, hey, you need a program. You got to have something to follow along. Because if you do random stuff, if you do random shit, like, you're going to lose some weight, build some muscle, but it's not going to be great, you know? But okay, so that's the movement side of things, you know? Then on the food side, that was a little bit more tricky. As we know. No, so back then, right? Yeah. So this is like thing too. This is 2012. I know we're the same age. So 2012, you know, yeah, of course, the magazines, which I wasn't really reading, but that's one of the main things then. The forums, which were the complete like Wild West. It's like Reddit these days or something.
Yeah.
There were some documentaries, but there was like no Netflix or anything. So I was like illegally downloading shit, you know? And what else? Yeah, just Google, you know, some articles. But even back then, it really wasn't that much, you know? So I'm like trying to figure out stuff. I'm trying to, you know, download my MyFitnessPal, which was just coming around. And obviously, you know, just lose 1+ kilo per week. Great. So I got on way too little calories there. So I tried a whole bunch of stuff. I'm trying to think. So first of all, with my MyFitnessPal, I think that was probably the first one where I started tracking and I had no idea about protein or anything like that. I had no idea about the targets or percentages or, you know what I mean? Like there was no education there, which makes sense, you know, but still to this day, I really think there should be almost like an onboarding mini course for people, you know, who want to do that on their own. But anyway, you know, I had no idea what to do. So I tracked and I had way too little calories and it was just, I couldn't stick to it, you know? and then I would overdo it. I lost some weight, but I would come back. Then there was a documentary. I watched a few, but I think it must have been What the Health, or there is one, I forgot what it was, but it was like...
Wait, the vegan one?
No, well, it's one where basically this dude goes around the US and he just has people just do like juice. Like that's all. Like that's all you do. You drink like green juices, you know. So so I tried that for like a week.
Oh goodness.
It was the worst.
Yeah, and people are still doing that.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, you know. So I think the documentary, maybe it was Forks Over Knives or whatever. I can't remember. Like one of those, like, you know.
Yeah.
You know, just bullshit documentaries that you're like, yeah, sure, maybe, you know, like having people on like green juice for a couple of weeks, like, of course you're gonna lose a whole bunch of weight, but like, is it gonna last? Well, no. Well, definitely did it for me, and definitely doesn't for like 9 out of 10 people still these days, you know.
Well, that's when we really see like poor relationships with food.
Yeah.
Come up.
Yeah, and then, you know, you just try shit, and it's the same story over and over again. And you know, I tried a few other things, but without getting into everything. Oh, maybe the supplements. So supplements, I had, you know, I remember like I just started working out, you know, just started running. I had like the pre-workout, the post-workout, and then I had like the casein for night, and I had like this thing, a creatine, and I think there's something else, you know, like this fucking like a fat burner also, and you know what I mean, like all that stuff. And we all know these days, well, now I know that also there, like, did it help potentially? Like, I mean, the protein, yeah, the creatine, yeah, but the rest, it's just a waste of money.
The creatine probably would have helped just from you being like a noob.
Also,
but you being a noob would have been, you know, a main reason why. But this is what we see very often is like people have like all these supplements, yet their nutrition isn't dialed in.
Yeah.
Right. And so there's that disconnect there.
Yeah. And I still get that too. You know, you get someone on, new client, excited, you know. Oh, and I heard about these supplements. I should have take this and this. I'm like, no, let's wait a little bit, you know. Let's give it a little bit of time.
Let's save your money.
Let's focus on the important stuff. But so I tried a whole bunch of stuff, you know, and at the end of the day, like, did some work? Yes. Did I lose weight? Yeah. At the end of the day, yeah, I did, you know, but it was like this because I couldn't sustain like more than half of it, you know. But eventually I kind of figured it out. Now, what the biggest thing was is when I got into CrossFit, and this must have been 2013, so that's also quite early, I guess. Right? It's not the very beginning of CrossFit, but it's still early days, on, you know? Yeah, early days, which I loved. You know, I was waiting. I was like hoping for a CrossFit gym to open, and it finally did. So I signed up like right away, and that's when I got my first kind of like actual help. You know, that was useful. You know, and my coach at the time, we're still in touch every now and then. He's great. He kind of helped me there with a little bit of basic info of proteins and carbs, and you know which foods to eat. And I remember. I asked him like, yeah, so what about like fats, you know, healthy fats, and like how much do you need and all that stuff? And he was like, well, basically, if you just eat like, I don't know, a handful of nuts or something, like you're pretty good for the day. That's your baseline, you know? So I was like, well, is it that basic? But yeah, it is, you know? You just need to eat those healthy fats every now and then, get some nuts and seeds, etc., right? Of course, that was the only thing to eat, but like that's kind of like some basic stuff. Okay, I have some meat, some fish, whatever, you know, dairy products, just normal shit. And the more I just had those basic things in my routine, the better the results were, you know? So basically, like, my next kind of mirror moment, I think, was like late 2013 when I lost like 30 kilos. So that's 60 pounds. It was like New Year's Eve. I got up from the couch just to use the bathroom. My friend behind my back, she's like, "Did you notice like how much weight Johan lost?" You know, I didn't say anything, but I overheard it. You know, and I kind of let that sink in. So I was like, "Well," and I don't think I really like realized that. You know what I mean? Up until then, like I was just on go mode kind of thing. I was just working hard, shit, touring a lot too. So then I looked in the mirror again. I was like, "Oh shit! I'm now 30 kilos lighter. I feel great. Like actually my energy was good. I was running and stuff. For the first time, I actually felt like confident. I felt really fucking good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one of the reasons, like one of the main reasons why I'm so passionate about this stuff, because I know what that's like to go from completely feeling like absolute shit to being like, hey, actually, no, now I do have a body where I am actually confident, where I am happy about what I see in the mirror. And I don't have to fucking wear my extra large t-shirts just to hide my gut,
Right.
Because that's what I was doing. I'm like a large, but I was getting XL just to hide that gut,
Mm.
And at that moment I was like, fuck yeah, I feel great, And I want people to feel like that too, And that's ultimately what got me into coaching. But I think the thing that kind of makes me so passionate about this stuff too is just kind of the misinformation that we still see online. Right? That's 10 plus, it's 10 years ago. And right now it's just worse even.
I would say it's worse. I would say it's worse. Yeah. Yeah.
Because now you have the fucking the liver kings and the carnivore stuff and like,
Well, okay, it might be worse, but I think now we have bigger platforms for people to spew their information.
Yeah.
Right. We're back
that's a
then,
really good point.
Instagram, I recently scrolled back, like Instagram was like nothing back then. Right. It wasn't even close to what it is now. And so I think that's a big piece of it too. But one thing I want to just touch on is like during that process, those years, you lost a bunch of weight, but your relationship with food ended up pretty poor at one point, right? Like were you dealing with binging at all?
At one point, yes. And this is when, so let's fast forward a little bit more. I moved to Norway after traveling the world, touring mostly. This is kind of the place where for the first time after years, I would actually stay for more than 1 week. And I got back into CrossFit because over those years, I was really into CrossFit, but my music, let's call it career,
Yeah.
I don't see it like that, but like, let's call it that, took off and I was just on tour, like 9 months out of the year. So I was just on the road and then I would travel in between basically. So I was just gone, which obviously comes with not really being able to be consistent with training, etc. But it was always like this thing, right? Because from back then, I knew about CrossFit, I knew about the level 1 and those kind of things. I was like, I still kind of want that, But yeah, music, like I said earlier, that's always been my thing.
Mm-hmm.
Moved to Norway, got really back into CrossFit because now I had the time for it, which ultimately led me, to become a CrossFit coach. But around that time, I think even I was still also kind of like, like let me cut a little bit more. And I was using a certain app, 2 letters that we talked about, last episode or 2 episodes ago. And I did that and it was way too little, and I really got like these moments where I just like got super brain foggy. I just had to stop that cut. So that was one. Then there was a certain CrossFitter, used to be the best one in the world. He, I think there was a YouTube video where he talked about intermittent fasting, how amazing it was for his testosterone levels and all this shit. So I was like, okay, that's what I'm going to do.
Maybe he was trying to like tell his, like all I could think about in that situation is like, ooh, let's tell my opponents to intermittent fast and their performance will go to shit and I'll win.
So I was doing CrossFit fasted in the morning.
Oh gosh. Oh my goodness.
So there's that.
But just lack of knowledge and influence.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I'm like really careful even these days, where as much as I like educating people and even like we do that here, but the real shit that actually helps, is way more basic and like not that exciting.
No.
And all that stuff, like the fasting and all that, I'm not even against that stuff. There's definitely time and place for them, even keto, etc. Like there are some cases where you actually want to use that as a tool, you know?
For sure. Mm-hmm.
But like, that's a great example, right? Just hearing something and just running with it. And I just didn't know better.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's even like, I mean, that's so many of our clients or people who we talk to, or, you know, that's still the case. So, so there was that, you know, obviously it felt like shit. You know, it led to sometimes like feeling injured, etc., just feeling trash, like energy levels. This is also when, because I told you about this too, where I would then have that morning workout. I would then also work at night as a Northern Lights guide. So in between, I was like, oh yeah, shit, let me get a quick little, like a meal in, because I have to eat at some point, which usually will be a combination of like maybe a protein shake or protein bar. And then I would go to the store and grab like a jar of peanut butter and these. I know we talked about this on one episode. Yeah. I think it was the fasting episode. So I had a jar of peanut butter and there's like a pack of like seed crackers, you know? So this is like, and I had the whole jar basically, or at least as much as I could scoop out with the crackers, you know? And this is like a 3,000 calorie, let's call it binge, you know?
Yeah, that's wild.
You know? So I will say,
so
I don't know.
Were you just like unaware of like, why was that? So was it like you were super hungry, burnt out, starving, but were you unaware of like the calorie intake of like something like peanut butter? Like a lot of it?
This is definitely, so this is actually a really good point. So between my fitness pal in like 2012, I hadn't really tracked other than with the app, 2 letters that we talked about recently, which doesn't do calories. It's just macros. It's a little more simplified, which I do like. I will say that. I do really like that. I do think, no, I don't think I was aware of the calories in terms of kind of like carbs versus fats, you know? I don't think so. Mm-hmm. I did know it was a lot, but I think it came mostly from just not getting enough,
just being like, starving.
Well, shit. Yeah, unprepared, which is a big point too.
Yeah.
Almost like, hey, you know, let me get something quick in, a lot of energy. I got to go to work after 2, you know, those kind of things. So it's a combination, really. And I will say it's maybe, that was maybe less of kind of like a relationship to food issue. But I did have points where I would fast on tour, where I would feel really bad about, you know, eating after 10, you know?
Okay.
10 p.m., you know, where I was really, now I really fucked up.
Yeah, because you had these rules.
Yeah, you know, and then I would overdo it also, because then I would be like, well, you know, I had 1 slice, might as well have the whole pizza.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we'll try again tomorrow. And guess what? On tour, you know, you're tired. Like it's a, you know, temptations. Right. That after show pizza is usually there. Oh, and I would turn it into almost a daily thing, you know.
Right.
And then trying to do my best with the fasting and then give in again. So that was a little bit of a weird moment too. So I think as for like relationship to food, like that was kind of like the only real kind of like for me struggle, I guess, that I had for a little while mentally.
Got it.
And other than that, it was just not knowing better. I did the zone diet for a little while, which also not great, you know. It's not terrible, but like
the zone diet, I actually liked it. It was the diet because I did it. I think we can do the zone diet. What happens is like people do the zone diet and then they also do like paleo at the same, like they're doing paleo and then they're in CrossFit and that doesn't go well. But I do think the zone diet can teach you the simplicity and the basics of nutrition, right? Because it's like protein, carbs, fats. It's teaching you those foods. And it's also teaching you how to build out meals, which from the very beginning, that's like the diet that I did. And building out balanced meals is something that is a huge and main focus of mine. And that's really where I learned it.
You know what? It's really cool that you mentioned this, because so I think that was the thing, the video that really got me, like that kind of sparked something in terms of nutrition for me. I think it was a level 1 recording about the nutrition piece by Matt Chan. And I think that was a video for me that kind of got me into that shit. I think that was the one. But that is a really good point, because it does teach you about fats and the carbs that you need and the proteins and the food choices. Yeah. As a system, I don't know. I remember there was like a rule where, okay, if you lose weight up to a certain point, you just double your fats or something. So I don't know about that.
Yeah, there was weird parts to it. The accuracy with stuff just really isn't there with that. But again, in terms of the basics, it's good.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, I figured it out eventually, so it was just a lot of trial and error.
Right. And and it is for a lot of people. But fast forward. So when was the moment, or what got you into coaching? Like, when was that?
It was that video. So as I was doing my level 1, I was like, I feel like during my level 1 course, I was the only one who, or maybe like, there was like 2 other dudes I talked to, like, I was prepared, I knew everything. I really studied for that one. And I watched all the videos, and I think that video by Matt Chan was the one that really got me into the nutrition stuff. And I was like, I don't know, something about that just resonated with me, And then as I went through, becoming a CrossFit coach, and then over time I did touch for a couple of years. And I think 2 years later, I started, Vestas Nutrition, which now is Odyssey Coaching Systems. But from kind of like that and my own shit, like trying to figure it out, to then kind of seeing, okay, well, I now see a lot of people still struggling with the same stuff over and over again. And it's the exact same shit. It's the fasting, it's the supplements, it's the restrictive diets, the documentaries, all of that. It's the going online, really just want to get healthy and lose weight and just feel good about yourself, going online for help and not getting it,
Right.
And just being worse off, which is really fucking frustrating. And it almost like pisses me off sometimes, because people deserve that help. And that's literally why I created that group coaching program too. I want to make that more available to people, because people deserve that help. And you should not, because we could even get into like doctors and shit. Like, how often do you hear someone, who asks for help from the doctor, whatever, and it's the worst advice. And I'm not even shitting on doctors, but like, if you don't know, refer to someone who knows their shit, But it's really seeing people struggle with the same stuff I did, wanting to help people, and also sometimes getting questions about that during CrossFit, plus just my own journey. It just kind of just happened in a way where I got more and more interested. I heard about, so I did CrossFit, and then there's like these affiliated courses or whatever it was, and heard about precision nutrition, which then would be the thing. That was my first cert. And
Same.
I mean, from there, since PN, it's been like nonstop nutrition shit.
Same. Nonstop.
And I've been going hard, on this whole thing.
Even if like I didn't do this, I would still just be like, I'm so fascinated with this stuff, like the human body, nutrition, hormones. It's so fascinating.
And I did PN1 thinking, okay, I'm a CrossFit coach. I also want to help people with nutrition. But then when you start learning, you're like, well, actually, okay, now I have some basic shit and like knowledge, but I actually don't know shit.
Yeah.
Because then there's the hormones and the gut health and the stress.
It never stops. It's just like,
it never stops.
I always say this, the more you know, the less you know.
Yep. And it's so cool. And I think, so what I'm very grateful for still, which is actually my own decision. Like, this is to our fellow coaches, maybe the number one thing you can do is just investing in courses, mentors, especially, like getting the help, because I feel like people sometimes stick with that. Yeah, like they stay with the PN1 or the CrossFit one or the whatever PT course, and then that's it. But you got to keep learning. And I know that it's not easy to build a business in the fitness industry, you know, as a PT or a nutrition coach, etc. But like the thing that I'm still so happy about is that I think my second month coaching, so this is in the very beginning, I think it was a workshop from Sam Miller. And then after that, he became my one-on-one mentor back then. And this is literally my second month having like a nutrition coaching company, and I didn't know shit, you know?
Yeah.
And I think I learned so much there about the process and about coaching. And then obviously did FNMS together.
Yeah.
Christine and I, and that's where we met. And just since then, so since starting, trying to figure this out, getting mentored by him, doing FNMS, also meeting you then. Since then, it's just been continuously just work, basically, but I fucking love it, you know?
I know.
Yeah. And I know it's the same for you. It's like, we work a lot. We do a lot of shit, you know? Like, it's not just posting on Instagram and, you know, doing macros. But it's such a cool thing, you know what I mean? Like, it's really like, it's a passion of mine, you know?
My dog is chewing something of mine right now.
Yeah, I saw. I heard it.
And I can see her chewing it. Anyways, but yeah, exactly. It is a huge passion.
It's just so cool. I think it's awesome. I really love it. And I mean, a lot has changed also for me on a personal level since then, you know. And I definitely overcame a lot of my struggles, and I still am dealing with shit too, you know. But like, it's just fun. It's like, I like the learning aspect. I just rediscovered learning, you know what I mean?
Right.
I started reading books and shit, which I never fucking did, you know? And what's up, Stormy?
Stormy, say hi.
We got a guest. We got a guest on a podcast. Surprise guest.
All right.
I wish dogs could talk sometimes.
Oh, I do, but I don't. I do, but I don't.
No, actually, that's a good point.
Yeah.
But it's just cool. It's cool to build stuff. It's cool to just keep learning and just help people. It's literally the coolest shit ever.
Totally. Yeah.
That being said, I actually have a guest episode coming up in 10 minutes, which is going to be my first one. So I want to get ready for that.
Nice. That's exciting. I have a guest one today too.
Cool. Awesome. Which one? Which podcast?
You're Taza. I don't know if you know who he is.
I don't know. Look him up.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. That's awesome. So that being said, let's wrap it up, because we both have shit to do, as well as the listener.
Yes.
So to our listeners, have an amazing week. Before I let you go, Christine, any things you want to mention before we stop?
Nope, we're good.
Link the guest speaker below. Like I said, for my program, we are launching that beta testing cohort for May 1st. We start. Enrollment is open as of now. Only 10 spots, so it is limited. We'll link that down below as well. And then we will talk to you next week.